great for you because you know, to go there, you know, you only need to learn one additional language, you know. So if you have those English skills down, you'd be good to go in Ireland for sure. Ireland right now, you know, Ireland in general is you know, it's a very safe place. You know, number 12 on the global peace index. It's a very young population, which should be very attractive for, you know, 50% of the population is under 34 years of old, you know, 22nd in the world for happiness. You know, it's a very, very friendly, family oriented country. But we are number 11 on Forbes for the best countries for business. And we'll get into that a little bit as you see here. These are some of the companies that have headquarters or large presences in Dublin in Ireland. So as you can see, these are some of the, you probably recognize a great deal of those names. And you know why this is important, obviously, is that, you know, the whole point of going to school and getting a master's is getting that better position. One thing I can mention here too is that in Ireland, if you do receive a master's degree, you can stay there and work for 2 years after graduation. It's called a 2-year stay-back visa. It's not a hard process at all. It's not like coming to the US where, you know, it's a major ordeal to stay and everything like that. You know, they want people from, you know, they value people internationally to work at these companies. You know, 5 of the top 10 companies on Forbes most innovative companies have European headquarters in Dublin. You can see those companies. So that is something that, you know, is very you know, very attractive also. Ireland does rank 10th globally for education, for the quality of education. So again, you know, you're not only looking for a place that, you know, is affordable, that has great jobs, but you're also looking for quality. And that in UCD and Ireland is a place you can achieve that. So this is a little bit of scenic picture. This is actually the river that runs through the middle of downtown Dublin. They call it city center. So this is kind of, you know, what it looks like. Some things about Dublin in general, it's very accessible. You know, Ireland is an island, so things aren't very far. You can go across the island in about 4 hours. So it's very easy to, in Dublin itself, it's very easy to navigate. You can walk. There's great transportation. There is a train system, which they call the DART. There's a bus system, which is part of that. So there's a lot of, you know, transportation, public transportation. So you don't necessarily need a car, you know, while you're there. It is Europe's technology capital, so it's home to a lot of the leading international IT companies. You know, the bottom left, mountains to sea, you know, that's because, you know, it's a small island, but you go, you know, it's surrounded by the sea, but on the western side of the country, there are some, you know, not mountains like you have. You're not seeing any volcanoes, you know, they're more like big hills, but there are some mountains there. Dublin is very close to Europe. You know, they say it's a gateway to Europe. You know, you could fly to London in probably 30 minutes. You can get to most, you know, most of the big cities in Europe, you know, under 2 hours. It's also, once you're there, the flights are very inexpensive. You know, to get there is a little bit, but, you know, once you're there in Europe, the cost of flying and traveling and seeing the rest of the, you know, rest of Europe is very inexpensive. And, you know, Dublin itself is a coastal city. It is located on the eastern coast of Ireland, located right on the ocean there. So this is kind of one of the pictures I have. I have a couple others of, you know, of main campus. So this is kind of, UCD is a large university. It is a large university, but if you want to look here in this picture, it is kind of in the middle of Dublin. So that you see at the top there, it says Silicon Docks. That's kind of the middle of the city of Dublin. So UCD is only 4.5 kilometers south of there. So even though, you know, it is in Dublin, it is a large university, but it is close. You know, it's not far at all. These are just some additional, you know, photos of campus. You know, it's a very modern, you know, looking campus. It is made up of 6 colleges and 38 schools. So just gives the idea of the colleges and the schools that are underneath. So you have a large selection of things you can do. We have probably close to 150 graduate degrees across the entire university. We have over probably between around close to 25 master's programs in just the business school, but about 150 total and all. So, a lot of things that you can do there, at the master's level. Students in general, the size of UCD, we do have about 8,400 international students in Dublin, 9,000 graduate students. The university, like I said, is a 34,000 student university. So it's a large university. What's kind of cool about it is, like I was showing you, it is in the middle of Dublin. But how the university, it actually started in downtown and city center, and they basically outgrew it and they moved to this location a little bit south of Dublin. It was 7 old estates that they bought that had all this property, these big, large estates with all this property. And they bought those 7 large estates. They did keep the homes, so the homes are still there on campus. Just converted them to offices and things like that, but they they built up from there. So you do have this huge campus, but it's still tucked in the neighborhoods, of Dublin. It is one of Europe's largest campuses. It is 350 acres, so you can get an idea of how big it is. It is a large campus. And if they have a picture at the bottom there, you can see the little mountains we have there. So those are our mountains. So you can see them again. They're nothing like you have, but anyway. So there are accommodations available on campus. Accommodations, obviously are kind of at a first come, first served basis. So that's one of the things, if you're going to go through this process, that is a highly, a fabulous reason to get your application in early. Because the earlier you get it in, the earlier you get accepted, the earlier you can get your name on the accommodations list. That does help. But there are accommodations. We do have accommodations on campus for people. These are just a few pictures of the teaching facilities. Again, you can see it's a very modern, modern campus. So, everything pretty much is, state of the art there. So it's, again, a lot of quality there on campus. So I'm going to stop share here right now. And then I'm going to see, I think I have one more thing if I can share, maybe not. No, I don't. Okay. So one thing I just want to talk about real quick, I'm sure you are all interested in, is the application process. So the application process is pretty straightforward, actually. It's not going to be anything different or tricky, that you are not used to. Basically, what we're asking for is official transcripts from the university you attended. We are looking for a professional resume or CV, a current resume or CV. There are usually essay questions attached to the application itself. Now, those questions are going to be different depending on which program you're applying for. So, but they are in the application itself. We are going to be looking for 2 letters of recommendation. Depending how long you've been out of school, if you're a recent graduate from your undergrad, one of your professors is fine. Someone who knows you. If you've been out of school a while, 8 to 10 years, you're probably better off looking for a supervisor, one of your current supervisors would be better than a professor that you had 10 years ago. But the letters of recommendation, all you really need is the email addresses of those people, and then they will send a form to fill out. So it's a very simple process. Obviously, the one final thing you will need is a English language test. We do accept, a variety of them. We accept IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo. So there's a lot of options you have there. when you go into the page, when you're looking up your program, you're going to look up program specifics, and it will talk about the language test, and it will also talk about what the minimum scores are for those exams. The one option we do have, if your score is a little below what we're looking for, if it's probably too late this year because the program starts in April, but if you're thinking of applying next year, we do have it's called a pre-sessional program where you can learn English. You go about 10 weeks early to campus before the program start, and then you go through a program that's taught in English. They teach you about how classes are taught, and that will substitute for that English score. However, there are minimums of the test you still have to have. So it's not like you can speak no English and then go take that professional. You still do have to have a level. It's just if you're not quite to the level, you can't quite get there and pass that test. That is another option for you if that is something you would want to do. That is about it on the application. The only thing, again, I would say to you is if you are thinking about it, please apply early. You've heard this before, but again, I'm not worried so much about, you getting accepted early. Some programs do fill up than others. That is true. But, if you apply early, the application for this year is open. So, you can still probably apply till about June 1st for this year if you would like to come this year. But next year, starting in 2024, the application will be open around September 1st. The reason I say apply early is, again, get your everything in, get accepted, but then you can start working on things like accommodations and, all the paperwork you need and things like that. The later you apply, the less time you give yourself to do that. So I will be, I'm doing an Education Ireland tour next week. I will be in Mexico. So I will be in Guadalajara the 21st. I will be in Monterrey the 23rd, and Mexico City the 25th. So you can register those events. If you look at the Education Ireland website, I'm sure they're there. It's not just myself, but it will be other schools from Ireland there also. But if you have the ability to attend, it would be great to see you. I'd love to meet you in person. But right now too, if you have any additional questions, I would be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you so much, Jim. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta, alguna duda que le quieran hacer a Jim que está aquí aprovechando?
Yeah, hi, I do have a doubt.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Hector. So I was wondering if you could tell us about the employability outcomes or prospects in UCD. I mean, when I graduate, if we graduate from UCD, what would be some like the normal prospects, job-wise or academic-wise?
So, yeah, as you saw, Hector, thank you. Dublin is a pretty growing dynamic city right now. As I, showed you the slide with all the companies are there. Those are just the large companies. So there's a lot of companies there. So, our job placement has been pretty high, over 80% in the business school anyway, over the last few years. A lot of that depends on which degree you are seeking also. Obviously, depending on what your degree is in, the job prospects there's gonna be a huge variation depending on what you study and what you want to do. But in general, the opportunity to find jobs in Dublin is pretty good. With all the growth there with companies, they're always looking for new talent. And one thing that that really is going for you is there aren't a lot of Latin American students there, or Mexican or I mean, there aren't a lot. So you would be kind of that would be to your advantage, because if a employer is looking to diversify, you would be one of the few there. So that's something that really is to your advantage. So again, depending what you what you know, your study, what your degree is in, it's going to vary. But, you know, in general, the hiring has been pretty good in Ireland over the last, you know, the last 2-3 years.
Thank you. Andrea, you can ask or you can write your question on the chat, whatever you want. Puedes preguntar o escribirlo en el chat como quieras.
So I do have there's one question here from Kevin. It says, what is the academic graduate offer? I'm not sure I understand what that means. Can you explain that a little better?
Sure. So what kind of master's degree is offered currently at the university?
What kind of we have like 150 different master's degrees, Kevin. So we have pretty almost anything you can think of. Is there, I mean, is there a specific one you're thinking of? But I mean, if you go onto our website, if you go on the graduate school website, there's a list of them. Like I said, there's like over 150. So there's a large number, from sciences to you know, the humanities to engineering to, you know, like I said, we have over 20 in the business school, you know, arts, humanities. There's everything. So it's really just a matter of what you want to study. There's more than I can remember. So, but if you go onto the graduate school website, you can pull up an entire list of all the graduate degrees.
So Andrea was trying to ask something, but I don't think she had her audio on. So
yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim, for your time. Thank you, Sophia, also. I got accepted into UCD last year, but yeah, I applied very late, like almost on the deadline. So it was it was difficult for me because I couldn't get any scholarship. I was applying from also another scholarship from my university, which is the University of Guadalajara. But it was already very late. So now I have the application because I was very excited to know that it was possible to defer the acceptance letter. So I got it last year and it's still valid because of the School of Philosophy that I'm applying to. So that was great. But now that I'm applying to the scholarships like on time, I'm actually right now, before this talk, I was preparing my motivation letter for the Government of Ireland scholarship, which closes also next week. But my question here is there any like support for students who are applying to accommodation in campus? Because I was because of this amounts of scholarship, the I don't know how to say it, by like the payment, it's not payment, but like the amount of money that we would receive per month is below the amount of money that is charged by accommodation in campus. And also because I'm not European, I have to pay like the fee for not European people. But of course, in Latin America, our wages are very different from other countries. So I was thinking if there was any kind of like scholarship, subvention, I don't know how to say it, for accommodation in campus, or was that just like...
No, you know, I mean, I understand your question. Yeah, unfortunately, the scholarships are usually based on the tuition. You know, they're always a percentage or a dollar amount off of your tuition rate. You know, the theory is, I mean, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but it's like, okay, you're getting a, you know, whatever, you know, 5,000 euro scholarship off your tuition. Well, then that's $5,000 extra you can spend on accommodations, you know. So it's kind of like you're taken from one and given to the other. You know, there aren't really any scholarships that are, you know, they're all going to be based on academics and tuition. There's really not a scholarship that is going to cover, you know, your that is specifically targeted towards accommodations. But that's why, yeah, that's why, I mean, you're doing everything right. You know, I understand it's just a yeah, I mean, it is kind of, it's kind of the same that way at every university. I mean, there are some probably who will pay you some accommodations, you know, you know, right now, you know, accommodations are pretty, you know, they're, what do I say? They're very, you know, they're not hard to get, but they're, you know, they're a thing out there that is kind of like, you know, you got to work for them. So that's why they're kind of, none of them are real, none of the, you know, none of the scholarships are based towards accommodations.
Andrea, what you can do is you can apply to the loan from FUNED, and then you can use that money for accommodation, and then you might get the 20% discount that the university offers our scholars. So that might be something that works for you.
Right, because you can use that money for anything, right, Sophia? Yeah.
Exactly. So there, another question. I would like to know if it's possible to have a scholarship, and also how the payments are from.
So the payments are usually 3 times a year. They usually break it up in 3 different payments because there's 3 different semesters. So you don't like pay it all up front. Scholarships, I mean, yes. Again, the scholarships are going to depend on the program you are applying to. Certain programs have scholarships that are unique to the program. So again, what I would do is I would go to the website, you know, find the program you want to apply to, look at the program details, and then you should there be able to find the scholarships that are applicable. I mean, there are some scholarships that are, like we have a Global Excellence Scholarship, which is open to everyone, you know, for every degree. There are some scholarships that are only open for, you know, the business school. There are some that are only open for engineers. So it really depends on what program you're applying to, but all scholarships are basically an application process. So you have to apply for them in order to be considered. You know, if you don't apply for them, I mean, you're not, you know, you're not going to get a scholarship. You do have to apply to them.
Thank you.
They are definitely available, though. It's just, you know, you just have to apply for them.
Thank you. And then there's another one from Livier. What happens if you don't have the score for the master and you apply for this year?
So by the score, you mean like a TOEFL, or you mean the English score? Is that what you're talking about?
Livier, do you mean the English score? I'm not sure because he's not answering here.
Yeah, that's the only score you really do.
Yes, it says yes.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, you put it this way, you can only be admitted if you meet the minimum requirements. So you would not be admitted. You know, eventually once the semester starts, your application just, you know, you would have to apply again next year. You know, because, I mean, usually what happens if we're waiting for a score, for an English test score, we can admit you, but that's all contingent on you passing the acceptable score on an English exam. So if that never happens, then you are not really fully admitted, is just basically what happens. So it doesn't like penalize you from applying next year because you're just missing a requirement. It's just something that you know, you would have to redo then for next year.
Okay. So then there's another one from Jose Miguel regarding the resident permits. Which stamp is the one that has to be asked for the 1-year master? Also, for programs of more than 90 days, they ask for a certain amount for the tuition fee to be paid as part of the criteria to give the permit. How can I apply for it if I'm waiting for scholarship acceptance? I
mean, yeah, that's the thing. See, the scholarship is not contingent on the payment. I mean, yes, I hear what you're saying. You want to use that money to see if you can do it. But the scholarships, unfortunately, are applied very late in the process. They are not, it's just the way UCD operates. They're not applied till the very end of the cycle. So, you know, you're not going to see that money for a while. Usually you can find out if you received a scholarship, but you're not going to see that money till the very end of the process, kind of, unfortunately. It's just the way the university operates. So, you know, it's going to happen right before you start is when you're going to see that money. That scholarship then would come off your tuition, again, it's a deduction from your tuition.
Okay. Thank you. I have another question. Is it possible to apply before you have the score of the IELTS, because I have it scheduled in 2 months?
Yes, you can apply. You can do the entire application. And then you can finish the entire application and just do not upload your scores from the IELTS. And then basically, again, what we do is if everything else on that application is fine, based on what we see, you can receive a conditional offer, and the conditional offer means you are accepted with a criteria, and that one criteria would be the successful score on your IELTS exam. Then once you send us, then when you do get the IELTS exam, all you would do is you would let us know, you would upload that score, and then we would turn your conditional offer into a full offer. So yes, I would highly recommend, if you're in that situation, I would recommend you getting in your application, like completing your all the rest of the parts of your application now, and then just wait for your score, and then you can do that later. But that way, all the other pieces of it are done.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else wants to ask something? Okay.
Yes, I do have a question here. So I got an email saying that there's a partnership for a joint scholarship. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, so that scholarship is when you apply for funding from FUNED. So once you get your acceptance letter to UCD, you apply for funding with us. And then once you get the funding, we let UCD know that you're going over there, and then you will get a 20% tuition fee scholarship from UCD.
So that's, for instance, if if the program is 20,000 euros, so you would get that would be a discount of 4,000 euros off that program.
Exactly. ¿Alguien más? Anyone else? Nope. So this session was recorded, so we're gonna upload it. If you know anyone that might be interested in watching later, or if you want to watch it later. Also, we have Jim's presentation that we can share with you guys. And as Jim said, he's gonna be in Mexico next week, so you might want to take advantage of that and get to know him in person. So there's another question from Hector. Regarding part-time employment at UCD, are there any options?
You can work 20 hours. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll be at UCD. You can work anywhere. It's just you do have the ability to work for 20 hours when you're there as a graduate student. I would not recommend working any more than that. The programs are 12 months in length, full-time programs, so you are quite busy. So it is well, you can't work more than 20, so it is that. But some people do, but most of the jobs are working in a Starbucks or retail or things like that. They're nothing too intensive, just something that people do to make a little extra money on the side.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Perfect. ¿Alguien más? Okay, well, I want to thank you all for being here with us, and thank you, Jim, so much for your time, especially that late at night where you are.
No problem.
Thank you for we have a question later. Can we contact Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you type your email here on the chat? So
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Or, and also I put the link for the fairs next week, Education Ireland. So if anyone is interested, and as Jim said, he's going to be there and it's free to attend. So just you can register and go visit him at his booth.
Yeah, I hope to see you all. So, you know, it's always nice to meet people in person. And, you know, again, if there's, you know, a great thing would be to just kind of, you know, look at the website, look at the programs, you know, come with questions that, you know, you don't see answered. But it is, you know, like I said, I don't think any one of you would be disappointed. It's a very high quality university, you know, great professors, and you know, it's a great quality education. And you only get, it only takes 12 months to get. So that's another plus there, 12 months program. So that's a nice thing.
In a beautiful city.
In a beautiful city, yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jim, for your time, presentation, and being here. And thank you very much, everyone, for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.